For over 7 years now, I've been a big fan of Casey Neistat. He's easily one of my all-time favorite YouTubers, and I find his videos so inspiring and unique. And Casey is a big fan of time lapses, a really big fan of time lapses. All of the clips that you're seeing right now are just from one random video on his channel. He really likes his time lapses. And through his persistent use of them, he's become synonymous with time lapses here on YouTube. Yet, in spite of it, his time lapses suck, technically speaking, but somehow he gets away with it. So, there are two ways to shoot a time lapse. The first way is how Casey Neistat does it, where you just shoot some video, spit it up, and you end up with a jittery, high energy, choppy kind of time lapse. And then there's a second way, where you use an intervalometer, follow the 180-degree rule, and you end up with a smooth cinematic time lapse. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Casey knows how to shoot in the correct way, which just brings forward the question, why doesn't he? And in searching for an answer, I spent a lot of the past fortnight shooting a bunch of time lapses in the correct way and the Casey way. I even put together this monstrosity of a rig with my APS-C and full frame camera so that I could compare a proper time lapse and a Casey time lapse. And to find that answer, we need to take a closer look at the process of shooting and editing in each style, which begins, of course, with the all-encompassing bits critical for both styles. First up, you want to shoot everything in manual control. Turn off your automatic focus, turn off your automatic white balance. You don't want any of your settings to change mid-shot, because if they do, that's going to be really noticeable in a time lapse. And secondly, as ever, of course you have to focus on composition and exposure, but what's different about a time lapse is that you have to focus over time. It's in the name. Now, with the all-encompassing bits sorted and in mind, you're ready to shoot a Casey kind of time-lapse. And basically all you do is just put the camera down, set up your frame, hit record, and leave it there for a while. And when you're done shooting, all you have to do is import the clip, retime it to be as long as you want it to be, or as short as you want it to be, and then you're done. It's a clip just like any other clip, no difference really. And the result that you end up with is functionally a time lapse, and depending on the subject that you're shooting, it might actually work, but the result will never be as smooth as a properly shot time lapse. As for the correct non-Casey Neistat way of shooting, there's a few more things that you need to get sorted before you shoot, beginning with some maths. Really, there's only two things that you need to calculate. First off is how many shots you're going to shoot, and secondly, how long you'll have to wait for. There are a bunch of websites and apps to help you do the calculations, but I just do it myself because it's not that complicated. Generally, when I shoot a time lapse, I like to have 10 seconds of footage to play with in my edit. So shooting at 25 frames per second, that means that I need 250 images, and then to know how long I need to wait, I just need to multiply that 250 by however long the intervals between shots will be. And to set that interval, you need an intervalometer. A lot of modern cameras have built-in intervalometers. My 5D Mark IV has a built-in one, and that's what I use. But don't worry if you don't have a built-in one, because there are physical intervalometers that you can buy. Though it's not just an intervalometer that you'll need. If you plan to shoot during the day and if you plan to shoot longer time lapses, you're going to need an ND filter, because to get a cinematic time lapse, what you really need to do is follow the 180-degree shutter rule, where your shutter speed is half your frame rate or shooting interval for the case of time lapses. Then once you've got all of that sorted, you can just shoot using your intervalometer. And then when you're done shooting, you're ready to start editing, which is a lot different to the Casey style. So I import my photos into Lightroom Classic and I edit just one image from the sequence to get the look that I want. And when I'm happy with that edit, I synchronize it to every other image in the sequence. And importantly, once it's synced up, I look at an image from the start of the sequence, the middle and the end to verify that the edit stands all the way through. From there, I export the images and put them into my timeline. And whilst they're all selected, I retime them all to be 1 frame long. I adjust the spatial conform to none and create a compound clip out of these so I can rescale and do keyframes just like any other clip in my timeline. So why doesn't Casey shoot in the correct way? Well, I think there's a few factors to it. First off, it just takes longer to edit. And speaking as someone who spends most of their life editing YouTube videos, if I can spend less time editing, I will spend less time editing. And secondly, it just takes too much storage to shoot in the proper way. And that just means you've got to spend more money on hard drives, but you also have to physically store the hard drives. It's just easier if it's all in one clip for file management. But mostly, I just think it's a storytelling thing. If you take a look at the clips that I showed in the intro of this video in full, you'll be able to see that Casey Casey uses these time lapses as establishing and transitional shots. They serve a function in the narrative of his videos, but because they're time lapses and because they're such high detail, jittery time lapses, they're much more engaging. After all, these are for vlogs, and it's important that videos stay fast paced and keep the attention of audiences. And a great way to do that is through a high detail, jittery time lapse. And yeah, all of these things could be achieved with properly shot time lapses, but that doesn't really matter.
If you can tell a great story, people will forgive everything. Bad cinematography, bad sound, bad everything. People will forgive that if the story's great. Story is king. Everything else is slave to story.
And it's that attitude to filmmaking that makes Casey Neistat one of my all-time favorite YouTubers. He doesn't need to shoot time lapses properly because it doesn't matter if he does or he doesn't. And if anything, the roughness and the grit to a poorly shot time lapse only adds to the personal feeling of his video. So yeah, that's the answer, I suppose. And that's where I'm gonna end this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up. And if you wanna reminisce about the days when Casey Neistat made vlogs, please leave a comment down below and let's talk about that. Do all the YouTube things, subscribe, notification bell, everything, all that. But really, just have a nice day and I will see you in the next one.